My point is that the loudest focus around the UAP topic is currently directed towards the technology of the observed craft. But that's missing the point. If they are here at all, it's surely for some very good reason that has nothing to do with their propulsion tech. In looking for the answers behind this phenomena, we have focused too much on the effect, the current presence of UAP craft, and not enough on the cause behind why they might be here. In general, the why behind most intelligent actions usually comes down to some survival-based need. So, what survival-based need might these craft have to be here? The Greys are from the future. They evolved after the cataclysm and want to ensure their future existence. Okay, another earlier faction of travelers would prefer for us all to stay human by preventing this cataclysm. Okay, but what is the why that has generated this whole situation? The atmosphere gets royally fucked up in the future and creates an evolutionary divergence. Some would like this divergence to continue to occur, and some would like to stop it. But the cause that generates this divergence is the atmosphere getting fucked up and how the chemistry of the new atmosphere interacts with our bodies to cause us to change. That, either happening or not happening, is what matters most to the Greys. And that's an issue of chemistry and biology, not so much physics. So, the biggest issue on our minds shouldn't necessarily be trying to figure out the technology behind the craft. That's important, but still missing the point. If the Greys had strategic targets that they'd like to travel back in time to ice well in advance, it wouldn't necessarily be targets who were into physics. It would more likely be targets who understand climate science and biology and all the other critical elements of the cataclysm that cause the Greys to either evolve into themselves or not. The people who might know how to reverse or prevent atmospheric catastrophe, or how to harden our bodies against it and survive it, etc. Whether the cause of the atmospheric cataclysm is caused by an asteroid or something else, it all comes down to the chemistry of what we breathe and how it interacts with our bodies to either evolve the survivors into the Greys or not. None of which is related to the propulsion tech of the UAPs. That is a secondary distraction. We have up until now failed ourselves by super epically missing the point. My local anecdote about dead scientists who were laid off by a NASA MSFC biology department only to be massacred years later is an example of this. A timeline war is surely a great example of unconventional warfare. This particular type of unconventional warfare includes future information that allows you to take out targets many years before their individual relevance to the conflict is able to become obvious. Anyone who wants to understand the motivations and objectives of this particular timeline war just needs to Google dead scientists and figure out what they all have in common. There actually is a great website that has been diligently recording mysterious deaths of scientists, going back to cases 20 years or longer ago. Plot twist: most of these dead scientists aren't physicists, although some of them are. But a complete list of mysteriously dead scientists includes biologists, climatologists, virologists, chemists, material scientists, agricultural scientists, etc., etc. Killed by random drive-by shootings, cars exploding, sudden unexplained illnesses that kill them within a matter of days, home entries where nothing is stolen but they end up dead anyway, getting hit by a car as they walk down the sidewalk, disappearing and being found in the river, etc., etc., etc. Most of them told someone that they were scared shortly before they died of these random events of violence. None of these cases are provably traced back to intentional assassination due to a clean getaway or lack of evidence. Future information certainly helps you figure out how to get away with it, but it seems like scientists tend to die of random acts of violence more often than the general population, and the dead are not all UAP physicists. In fact, most of them aren't. Many of them are people like the former NASA biology personnel who became professors at UAH, only to get freaking massacred as a group years later. If you really want to understand the objectives of the timeline war, then you need to figure out which scientists are dying off in the early or mid stages of their careers, and why. You can figure it out just by reading the prior papers of these randomly, violently dead people, and by extrapolating where their research may have led to 10 or 20 years in the future if they had lived. You know how these things are. You know a hit when you see one, even if you can't prove it. Those deaths that just don't make any sense at all, even as random acts of violence. Those seemingly random tragedies that just happen to be occurring over and over and over again within pretty specific communities of study. That is a very large fraction of how the unconventional warfare of this conflict is being carried out. What no one fully recognizes is that we are currently fighting this war massively understaffed. Key personnel have been repeatedly taken out years in advance, and now we are here, understaffed. It's a very tight and thin crew of expertise that's still left over to deal with the problems that remain.